Let us now pass on to the last discourse modes that we will discuss in this lesson, the narrative and the interactive mode. On the one hand, the narrative mode presents a sequence of events and states that have the same participants and/or causal or other consequential relations. Time sequence guides the sequence of events. The peculiarity of the narrating mode is that it contains a structure that follows a typical script as described, among others, by Labov. Labov identifies 6 main components in this script, namely the abstract, the orientation, the complicating action, the evaluation, the resolution, and the coda. Although some of these elements might not be present in most narrative modes, most of these elements in the narrative script are necessary for a narrative to be a narrative. Let us watch a narrative of a Chinese woman who got sick with the coronavirus. As we listen, let us try to identify the different elements of the narrating mode in her speech. The abstract, that is, the part in her narrating mode which summarizes the central action. The orientation, which is the setting and characters stage in the script. The complicating event, that is, what happened. The resolution, what happened in the end. The evaluation stage, which introduces the purpose of the narrative. And finally the coda, which brings the narrative to the present time.
On the 3rd of February, I had a fever, 38.2, 38.5, and I took 2 Panadol. I was well enough. I just felt a little bit tired. I remember sleeping the whole day. And then after that, the fever went. And for the rest of the week, I was well. I didn't have anything, not even a sniffle or cough. However, on the 7th February, really early in the morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and the room was spinning.
Hello， 姐妹们，大家好！我现在在医院跟你们一起敬拜，也在等待，很期待牧师的分享。
Isolation is basically 4 walls with a door. I got my food through a secure hatch. My medication, my change of clothing, my towel. Yes, you have the phone. You can text someone. You may have a video call, but just being completely no human interaction. I almost felt like I wanted to go knock on the wall and just talk to the other patient next door, just have some conversation with a human being when I was going through the critical stage. One of the things that I encountered was really breathing. It felt my lungs were going in overdrive. They were really making an effort. You know, it's not like normal days, right? When we're not even conscious of how we breathe. It was just so laborious trying to get from my bed to the bathroom, which was like, I don't know, 5 meters away, just walking to the bathroom, and it was just challenging. I don't know about long-term impact. The only thing that I know is that I cannot walk for long, simply because I will feel a little bit short of breath, and I feel the need to sit down, and that's something that has never happened to me before. I just think that this was a flu that was in global limelight, and people are worried because they know nothing at this point in time. They know very little, and I think when you have fear, whether it is individual or on a large scale, it breeds a lot of ignorance and also a lot of prejudice.
In her narrative, the woman starts by providing an orientation. She refers to herself and gives some details on the contextual circumstances she was in. Then she introduces the complicating events by saying what happened to her. describing a sequence of events. The resolution is presented when she refers to recovery. At some moments, she refers to the ways in which she felt, and she refers to social issues involved in her own anecdote by referring to ignorance and prejudice. Both abstract and coda are not present in this extract, which is in fact a selection of a longer piece, but they are likely to be present in her complete account. To conclude, the last discourse mode that we will refer to in this class is the interacting mode. The interacting discourse mode is characterized by its dialogic two-way nature, in which each participant in the interaction offers a contribution. This mode is what characterizes conversation. It is the discourse mode naturally associated with everyday conversation. A notion that is necessary to describe when talking about the interacting mode is that of adjacency pairs. Adjacency pairs seem to be the building blocks of conversational discourse. They can be defined as related utterances that constitute pair parts in interaction. An interesting summary of the status of adjacency pairs is the one provided by Job, who says that in an adjacency pair, the sequence is composed of two turns issued by two different speakers. Given the first, the second is expectable, that is, there is a conditional relevance that guides most of the interactional expectations that we hold in conversation. This is the case, for example, of everyday conversation that contains lots of socializing based on the use of adjacency pairs, as well as more formal genres of the spoken language, such as classroom discourse. Another important aspect to consider in the interacting mode is concerned with turn-taking. Turn-taking is the fundamental unit of description in conversation analysis. Job describes it as the length of time a speaker holds the floor length. Turn-taking is constantly being negotiated by speakers as they interact. A turn can be anything from an audible sound through a single word, a clause, a sentence, or a whole narrative. Let us now listen to the following news report, in which there is a strong presence of the interacting mode. As you do so, try describing the interaction considering, on the one hand, the way adjacency pairs are used, and on the other hand, turn-taking negotiation.
You have one here. How effective are they?
Okay, these little paper face masks aren't really much good. They may give a false sense of security. Leave them, I would suggest, to the medical staff because they need to be changed frequently. They are quite good at preventing someone with an infection from passing it on. That's traditionally how they've been used. But those people really now should be staying at home.
And a question here on social distancing from Claire on Twitter. She asks, should I be wearing gloves when I go out or I'm around other people?
Well, gloves might help unless you then suddenly touch your face. You'll be passing on maybe a whole load of germs that way. Really, social distancing, we maybe ought to start thinking about not shaking hands anymore. The French have advised the French citizens not to kiss on the cheek, so maybe we should all be careful about who we kiss.
And my friend from China said to do this rather than anything
bump.
with the elbow bump.
Yeah.
New ways of social interaction in that case.
Yes, don't do too hard.
How do I tell the difference between a common cold and coronavirus?
Through the test, probably, unless your symptoms go on to develop into chest disease, and then you're more likely to have coronavirus.
But a sniffle isn't normally associated with coronavirus. Are the symptoms a little bit more specific?
The symptoms tend to be fever, shortness of breath, and a cough. And a cold may not, will probably have a runnier nose than that.
Okay.
But it's not foolproof, and that's why the tests are being done. There's a whole lot of testing being done through GPs and hospitals at the moment by Public Health England to see if we're missing any cases.
In this particular example, the question-answer structure of the conversation establishes strong interactional expectations that normally result from a requesting for information adjacency pair. The floor is being kept for extended periods by the health professionals who are providing answers to the questions posed by the interlocutor and the audience. In all cases, the turn-taking load is placed more on the part of the health professionals, though the one guiding the interaction is the one who initiates the adjacency pair with the question, that is, the interviewer. In this class, we have analyzed in depth the notion of discourse mode, and we have seen its relevance in the description of spoken genres as pre-generic forms that constitute the genres we will study in future lessons. We have also analyzed in depth the 5 discourse modes identified by Bax, and we have provided several examples to illustrate how they operate in real language use.